Welcome to the presentation of the preliminary results of the SIFE project, Understanding SIFE's Context, Co-Constructing New Opportunities. This project is the result of a partnership between the Office of English Language Learners in Boston Public Schools and researcher Verdean Valero, visiting fellow at Harvard Graduate School of Education during the 2013-2014 school year. Throughout this presentation, I will try to explain the process of the project. I will present the demographics of immigrant students and specifically SIFE Cape Verdean students. I will present the preliminary results for the Cape Verdean students and families organized into 4 categories: the socioeconomic component, the social emotional component, the academic component, and finally, the family component. Then I will go into the limitations of the research, the next steps of the project, and finally acknowledge all of those who made this project possible. In this graph, you can see the schedule of the project. The first arrow shows the SIFE project starting mid-September 2013. We received the approval of the Human Subject Research by the Institutional Review Board and the approval of the Office of Research Assessment and Evaluation of Boston Public Schools by the end of January 2014. Interviews and preliminary findings of Spanish-speaking students and families and SIFEs were completed by May 2014. The second arrow shows what was completed this year, which were the interviews for Haitian-speaking families and students. We recently completed our final step, which is shown in the third arrow. We finished interviewing Cape Verdean speaking families and students also. The SIFE project allowed us to interview many students and families from this specific demographic. We visited them in their homes and schools, and using a communicative methodology, we spoke about children's performance in schools, expectations, dreams, lives in their home countries, current problems, and the context of their community. The interviews provide us with extensive information about the individuals that are behind the big data. Let me add in this moment that when we talk about SIFE students, we refer to those who have been identified as SIFE, but could be easily misidentified by the system. I divided the preliminary findings into 4 components: the academic component, the socioeconomic component, the family component, and the socio-emotional component. We will dive deeper into all of them in a few moments, but it is important to highlight that the 4 components were divided to be able to more easily explain the process of the project. It is also important to remember that one cannot be understood without the other. They are inherently interrelated. As a result of the preliminary findings of some of these components, Boston Public Schools launched 2 new projects. One component was the academic piece, and a new partnership was created with the Boston College School of Education to launch the hydroponics project, which was piloted this past summer and in after-school programs over the year as well. From the socio-emotional component, the social project was born, where we will try to demonstrate based on research that the higher the socio-emotional support that students receive, the better their academic results as well. I'm going to use a definition provided by the director of SIFE of Boston Public Schools, Ewald Charles. A SIFE is a student who for some reason or another has been identified to have at least 2 or more years of academic lag when compared to students of the same age group and are unable to function in regular classrooms without intense academic support. They usually originate from other countries, may have little exposure to the workings of an academic setting, and are initially identified by the Newcomers Assessment and Counseling Center. Let me start by saying that BPS has approximately 56,000 total students, from which 30% are identified as English language learners. This comes up to 17,000 students that are English language learners. From this population, approximately 270 students are identified as SIFE. This represents only 1.6% of the ELL population and only 0.48% of the entire Boston Public Schools population. This specific population of students are mostly found in high school and in middle school, where we can find 129 students and 61 students respectively. Of these, there are approximately 20 Cape Verdean students. We conducted interviews with high school students and their families whose first language was Spanish, Haitian Creole, or Cape Verdean. All these interviews are conducted according to ethical protocols accompanied with necessary consents and always in their native language. You can find the Spanish and Haitian speaking results in our previous presentations. In this presentation, we are going to focus solely on Cape Verdean students and families. I would like to note that there are a lot of similarities between the Latino and Haitian students, and you can find that information in the previous presentations. However, Cape Verdean students seem to have a more close relation and similarity to Haitian students. The family and academic components are the most important components for this specific population. Because Cape Verdean SIFEs do not need to work, unlike Latino SIFEs, and they didn't report any traumatic experience such as the earthquake for Haitian students, the academic component seems to be the most important component in order to help Cape Verdean SIFEs succeed at school. We saw that the socioeconomic component includes aspects such as differences based on country of origin, influence of the student role in the family, differences based on gender, differences between the family structure and students, debt, employment, etc. In our third presentation, we saw the Haitian students and Latino students were completely different in this aspect. While the family socioeconomic status is the same for all SIFE students, it is very different between students who are Latino, who are at most risk in this particular aspect. While the most important thing for Latino students was that an important part of them had their own budget, they had to pay rent for their families, they had to pay for their own food, their own trip, etc. This forced them to work, and of course this had an impact on their educational expectations and outcomes. This is not the case for Cape Verdean students. Cape Verdean students arrived to the U.S. by the request of their families, and they did not need to pay for their own trip or lawyers. This implies that they do not have debt and they do not need to work. Cape Verdean families feel that the role as their father or mother is to economically support their children so that they can study. This does not mean that Cape Verdean families do not have financial problems. They might be low-income families, but it is not a major concern for Cape Verdean SIFE students to personally be in charge of their economic expenses. We saw that for Haitian students, the most important difference in comparison to Latino students was the fact that all Haitian students interviewed arrived to the United States after the massive earthquake in 2011. In the case of Cape Verdean students, the most important difference is that while Latino and Haitian students are more likely to live in restructured families, which means that they live with step families, Cape Verdean students usually live with their extended families. Cape Verdean SIFEs live with at least one of their parents and with their extended family. This includes their grandparents, and specifically their grandmothers, who are in many cases the ones in charge of maintaining the family-school relationship. It is still significant to note, however, that only 17.6% of Cape Verdean SIFEs live with their whole family, which means that they do suffer some kind of loss and separation process. Like the Latino and Haitian SIFEs, for Cape Verdean SIFEs, the family-school relationship is very, very weak, and 70% of the families prefer not to participate or prefer not to answer. Families that consider themselves involved only go to the school if the teachers ask them, but do not collaborate in any other ways such as in activities. Almost 30% consider it is important for their children to strengthen this family-school relationship, but they do consider there are not adequate channels for allowing them to participate. One of the main characteristics of ELL families is their low educational background. In the case of Cape Verdean SIFE families, this is the same case. For the most part, parents, about 90%, only got up to the 4th grade in their home countries. This implies that on the one hand, they cannot help their kids with homework or with their English, but on the other hand, they are very, very supportive and are pushing their students to study and go further in school than they did. In this case, they did not force them to work outside of school and prefer to pay for everything so that their kids have more time to focus on school, even if they are over 18. It is crucial for these students to learn English, but they cannot learn English only through the work they do at school. This is why we refer to the different activities that they do or participate during the afternoon and after school and on the weekends. But it is also important the way that they relate to their families, as these students spend most of their time with them. In this case, we highlight that less than 25% of the families speak English, which means that they have no opportunity of practicing English at home. The socio-emotional component for Cape Verdean SIFEs seem to not be as complex as the one for Haitian and Latino SIFEs. They do have the same issues that other ELL experience with, but without the specific characteristics that the other SIFE student populations explained. For example, their Latino and Haitian counterparts have as a characteristic a lack of strong family ties built over time, untreated traumatic experiences such as an earthquake for Haitian students, stress due to their legal status, debt, etc. Cape Verdean students are more likely to have social and educational exclusion at the same level of other SIFEs, but for example, they feel like being separated from other students their age makes them feel like outsiders by their American peers. Another important fact is that SIFE socialize generally only with other SIFE students in the same class. This helps when they arrive to the school since they communicate in the same language, have the same country of origin and culture. However, this becomes an issue since this peer reference group does not provide them with other interactions that could help develop their English skills and their inclusion in the school. The 23% of students who participate in extracurricular activities other than homework use English during these activities, and although they do not consider friends those who are with them during this homework time, they have the possibility of practicing their English skills with peers during this time. Everything we've covered so far has a direct impact on Cape Verdean SIFE's education. Every student is different, and as we have seen, the Latino and Haitian student communities are different to Cape Verdean student communities. Although within the academic component there are similarities and commonalities. However, there are specific characteristics that Cape Verdean students have and different experiences that they have encountered, and we will continue covering this in the following slides. In our first meeting, I presented the 3 levels of education in their country of origin: illiteracy, interrupted education, and education not interrupted but qualitatively poorer than that they are receiving in the United States. During the interviews, we didn't find that any students were illiterate, although it doesn't mean that all Cape Verdean students are literate. The main characteristic of the Cape Verdean students is the fact that although they did not have the same level of interrupted education as that of the Latino or Haitian students, they're still not at the same level of their American counterparts, which implies a qualitatively less education in their home country. Regarding this topic, it is important to highlight that as they are students aged 16 and 18 with a lower academic level compared to their peers, incorporating them to a class of their level or incorporating them to a same age class are not options for them. The result is that they are in specific programs only for this kind of SIFEs, despite the fact that they have very different educational backgrounds. Therefore, they cannot take advantage of working with their native peers or peers that are the same age as them. Only 65% of Cape Verdean students have received a kindergarten education. During elementary, middle, and high schools, almost 30% reported to have significant interruptions of education, being the main reason that a lot of them stopped attending school when they decided to move to the United States, and they did not start again until they arrived. This percentage is low compared to, for example, Haitian students, for whom 62.5% have significant interruptions in their education. We saw, for example, that some Latino students had never gone to school before arriving to the US, and we also saw that some Haitian students had inconsistent education while in Haiti because they moved a lot and went to up to 6 different schools. The case of Cape Verdean students is different. None of them went to more than 2 schools, but the number of hours of instruction were significantly lower compared to the amount of instruction they are receiving in the US. As you can see in the table, assuming that one student never lost a day of school and finished up to 12th grade, the Cape Verdean student would have received 2,143.5 hours less than his Massachusetts counterpart, which means 2 years and a half less of schooling. Another important factor is that Cape Verdean students receive instruction in Portuguese, while they use Cape Verdean Creole at home, which may imply that they do not develop both languages, and it is hard to add English. The SIFE program places them in 9th grade, even though the actual equivalence is that of 6th or 7th grade. So they receive special curricula adapted to them. This is special SIFE curricula. In this program, which only has 2 teachers, students receive 2 classes a day in English and 4 in Haitian Creole. Their previous knowledge of English is 0 or very low, and therefore they require a lot of support in this regard. Most say they have no interest in extracurricular activities, and they go from school directly home, not spending any time with their peers. They only see supporting activities relating to their homework as useful because they have no support at home from their families that do not speak English. The ones who do not participate in extracurricular activities spend their time at home mostly consuming entertainment, such as watching TV. While 41% participate in after-school programs for homework, only 23.5% are involved in other after-school activities. This is important because in these activities they are with English speakers of their age and they have the opportunity to practice their English, while in homework after-school programs they are spending time with other Cape Verdean students and their teachers only. We have seen that Cape Verdean SIFE students have a lot of time during the afternoon. Most of them do not participate in extracurricular activities nor extra support classes, so they just have to do their homework. They report investing no more than an hour in doing homework, and if they have any doubts, they use the internet as their primary source of information. Some also get the support of their older cousins, but they cannot be helped by other members of their family that do not speak English or have basic educational skills or study skills. Another important fact is that the families perceive that they could do more and that is why some of them send their kids to community-based organizations in their neighborhoods. As noted in our previous slide, one of the main differences between Cape Verdean SIFEs and other SIFEs is that Cape Verdeans are involved in community-based organizations in Boston. While Latino students work during the afternoon and report to get no help from any NGO, almost a quarter of Cape Verdeans usually go to St. Peter's, a community-based organization, to do their homework or just be around their peers. This makes families feel more relaxed and calm knowing that they know where their children are. We confirmed the conclusions that we reached in the previous phase of the project. Failure and dropout rates are higher for SIFE students because they have psychosocial needs that go beyond academics and directly influence their educational outcomes. Students and their families need more support from the government to get out of the social risk in which they live, and the school is an ideal place to meet the needs of students holistically. There are specific conclusions for each population, however. For example, we noted that Latino students need more socioeconomic support than Haitian students, who need more socio-emotional support. In the case of Cape Verdean students, their needs are more focused on socialization, as they do not have friends without their ethnic group, and this may imply a risk of social inclusion in the future. Finally, I would like to thank the entire research team, but especially the volunteers, for all their hard work and all the hours they put into the project. I would like to thank Boston Public Schools and the Office of English Language Learners for their support, time, and data provided, and Paola Uccelli at Harvard Graduate School of Education for allowing me to develop this project.